Yeah, I don't know if we have it. I get it. Okay, yeah, maybe we'll get so. Good to go. I'm gonna raise this up. Thank you all for coming to our September version of the East Fort Worth Business Association. Sorry, I'm trying to get this microphone. Didn't do that beforehand. A little short for even short guys like me. So first thing we always start our meeting with is our opening prayer and our opening pledge. So Reverend Watson is going to come up and do our opening prayer, immediately followed by our pledge by Michael Chavez. Thank you.
And I'm even shorter, so we're going to be. Hey, everybody. I'm so glad you're here. It is such a great privilege for our church that we get to have this meeting once a month with you guys, talking about things that matter so much to our city. So let's pray. Holy and loving God, we thank you for the food that we are eating, and we ask that you bless it to the nourishment of our bodies. We thank you for our lives, for our ability to live in this beautiful city, to be together here in this meeting and to learn more about Trinity Metro. Thank you for the ways in which our city supports people who need transportation alternatives, the ways in which we come together. Oh, Lord, we're thankful for all of it, and we ask for your guidance and your wisdom and for our continued fellowship. Thank you, God. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, up next, Alan's going to come up and do some guest introductions and allow members to make any announcements that they might have.
I gotta shift it up here. Let's see. Okay. Welcome, everybody. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
We have a few guests with us here today, and we're really pleased to have folks join us in our fellowship with the membership here today. So Jeff Davis here from Trinity Metro. So Jeff, welcome to the meeting today. We appreciate you joining us here today. Thank you. Keisha, hi. Keisha's with High Management Projects. Keisha, can you say hello? She's over there. Welcome to the meeting today. We're glad to have you join us. Jody Oakley. Jody's with Oak Spy Signs and Graphics. Jody's there in the middle. So hello, Jody. Welcome. Nicholas Ditto. Did I say the last name right? Nicholas. Nicholas. Nicholas is with Fort Worth STEAM Academy, which is, I guess, like a science, technology, arts. Did I get that right? Because many people know the science and technology, but they don't know the E and A&M and that. So that's a STEAM Academy, not a STEM Academy. So welcome to the meeting today. We're glad to have you join us. Let's see, who did I miss? And I got Rhea, right? So Rhea Jackson. Ray. I'm sorry, Ray Jackson. She's here with Cancer Care Services. That's today. So welcome to the meeting. So any other guests that I missed? So I will do announcements. So yeah, any other guests that I missed? Okay. So we have a few announcements. I'm going to start with some special recognition for two of our board members here today who are having a birthday. So Angela, doesn't know we're going to call her out, but Angela, if you could stand up, because is your birthday today? Is that right? Today, and then on Saturday. So stay standing because we're going to do stuff. And then on Saturday is Don's birthday. I heard a little rumor that it's your birthday on Saturday. So let's go ahead and sing happy birthday. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Don and Angela. Happy birthday to you. Yeah. We have two other announcements. So Shauna Granger was going to talk to us a little bit about an event coming up. So Shauna, you want to come up and tell us a little bit about the upcoming event?
Hello, I'm Shanna Granger, Fort Worth Oktoberfest. Don and Wanda invited me to come give a quick update. And I am members of the organization. Fort Worth Oktoberfest, September 21st through 23rd at Trinity Park. It's a German festival, so you've got all German beer, food, all German bands, live entertainment, dachshund races, beer barrel rolling, sign hoisting, carnival rides, just about everything. And it's all benefiting the City of Fort Worth Park Department. So that's our nonprofit beneficiary this year. And we have a corporate night on Wednesday night. And then again, the festival kicks off on Thursday, September the 21st. So we invite everybody to come out. We enjoy celebrating German culture. It's a lot of fun and it brings a lot of people. We typically get around 20,000 plus people that come to Fort Worth from all over for this event. And we'll have a few door prizes to give away at the end of the meeting as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. I want to see the dachshund races, the little races, right? So that sounds like fun. We have another announcement. So Father Sergio Diaz, you had an announcement to make with the group today.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Come on up. It helps with folks online. Thank you.
Well, I'm Father Sergio Diaz. I'm a vicar of Iglesia San Miguel for Worth, and our current building is in southeast for Worth, but we are blessed to have a building here in 4301 Meadowbrook, and we want to move to the neighborhood, so we plan and be part of this organization. Our first service will be September 29 in Meadowbrook, I'm here to serve in any ways I call. So thank you for having me.
What time on the 29th?
Well, on the 29th, we want to have the service at 7 p.m. And everybody is welcome to come. It's a Friday, 7 p.m. We want to start at 6 p.m. to give a little tour for the new people coming to the church. We have a refreshment and we will have a mariachi. You're not familiar with mariachi, is about 7-8 men playing music there. So you are welcome to come. The first service the priest will be in English, and the rest of the service will be in Spanish. This is a Latino church, but we speak English very well too. Right, it's in front of the Meadowbrook Elementary School. It's just in front of there. Thank you.
Any other announcements? Anybody else have any other announcements? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Right. So as is our tradition in September, we always introduce our slate of officers for the upcoming year. So Jason Ray, our immediate past president, will introduce the slate of officers for 2024.
Thanks, President Mike. Being passed out, if you don't have it yet at your table, are some copies of our slate of officers. And so if you need a copy, raise a hand, we'll get it to you. So I'm just doing the formal report from your nominating committee that consisted of our chair, Bill Schwinson, who couldn't be here today, Wanda Conlon, current secretary of the board, myself as immediate past president. We had two non-board members, Eileen Cole and Bob Gallant. Bob's a former board member and owner of Gallant Marble and Granite. Eileen's a realtor. So the nominating committee has conferred and come up with a dynamic slate of officers for your consideration next month. And those members are, starting off with President Don Boren, owner of Don Boren Company, has agreed to be our candidate for president. Vice President birthday girl Angela Baker, Assistant Vice President of Southside Bank, Secretary Wanda Conlon, also with Don Bourne Company, and Treasurer Charles Ivory, Bank Branch President, Pinnacle Bank, Bridge Street. Returning directors for us, David Salgado, Bill Schwinson, Charles Hodges, Mike Chavez, Alan Liebrick, Gary Cumby, and Mike Wisnin. And then we have 3 new directors. Amanda Hollins, VP of Operations, America Can, Cars for Kids. Paul Crepeau, retired aircraft engineering consultant. And Toby Owen, CEO of Journey Home Presbyterian Night Shelter. And Mike Shedd will roll through this. Just say Mike's name and things go crazy. That matches Mike's private celebration that he'll be done as president. Moving to that immediate past president role, which I can attest is great. So that is your slate of officers. Come to October, we will invite nominations from the floor. I would say if you are interested in doing that, let someone on the nominating committee know in advance. That will just help us make things happen more smoothly next month. But that's your slate, and we look forward to electing your board for 2024 at our next meeting. Thank you.
Now I get to introduce our program, and we're delighted to have an excellent program today about something that's very important to all of us, that deals with our ability to get around this community that we love so much. But before I introduce our speaker, let me point out that we've got some other dignitaries associated with Trinity Metro that are here. One of my favorites, Deidre Whitmore, vice president, that I have had a long association with. Deidre, we're glad you're here. One of our members, but we're glad she's here and kind of helped us arrange this program today. Charles Edmonds is a board member from the East Side, and Charles is here a lot as well. And so we're glad Charles is with us, especially today for this program. And we've already heard our chairman of Trinity Metro introduced as a guest this morning. So we've got a pretty nice lineup of folks here to represent Trinity Metro. But our speaker is Rich Andreski, who is CEO of Trinity Metro. As you know, it's the regional transportation system, and it provides the variety of ways to get around our community, including our buses, TEXRail, paratransit, or ZIPZONEs, which is something I hope we expand on. You may not be familiar with those, but we need to know more about that. Bike sharing, vanpools, and the Trinity Railway Express. Rick has been in the transportation field for 23 years and has had a lot of involvement in industry groups. The American Public Transportation Association, APTA, is one where he co-founded a program for young people in the transportation industry, up and coming potential leaders, a program called Emerging Leaders within APTA to help develop those leaders of the future. He also serves on APTA's high-speed intercity passenger rail committee and on their awards committee. He has, need to practice my page turns. He holds a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Lafayette College, a Master of City and Regional Planning degree from Rutgers University, and he's also completed several advanced programs just to better prepare him for the multitude of things that can confront a transportation official today. So he is well prepared for his job, and we're looking forward to seeing all the things that happen. He's been here now for just over a year, and we're anxious to see what continues to develop under his leadership. And so please help me welcome Rich Andreski. Rich.
How y'all doing?
Great.
It's great to be here. Gary and Mike, thank you for including me today. Anytime I get an opportunity to come out and share some thoughts and hear your thoughts about what we do every day, it's a good day for me. We're here to serve. Many of you are, whether you're in the private side or the nonprofit side, we're really about service. And I think that's, moving here about a year ago, that's one of the things I quickly learned. This is a community of service and a community that's ready to look to the future and think about, how we want to improve the quality of life here in Fort Worth. We're 40 years old, Trinity Metro, and I was hoping to grab an East Side photo from 40 years ago. So if anyone has an East Side photo from 40 years ago, I would love to have it. This is West 7th. Public transportation, as we call it, was private transportation at one point. It was private, it was profitable. Many of the private transportation lines, trolley lines, were built as private enterprises to increase land value. They were a way to develop property, real estate speculation. In the 1970s, much of that business transitioned to the public sector. And originally, it was housed within the city of Fort Worth. And then in 1983, we were created as an authority to run the service, much like a business would. We have our own board of directors. We're funded through a half-penny local sales tax. We also draw on substantial funding through the federal government. We are not the 40-year-old system, although this is where our humble roots began. We have modernized substantially under much of the leadership in this room prior to my arrival, and we still have work to do. We have a system of services, much like any large metropolitan area would, starting with our bus system. East Fort Worth is a key beneficiary of that network. There's a lot of innovation happening in transportation right now, but the workhorse of our business is still the fixed route bus service. And the busiest bus route in our whole system is the 89. We call it the Spur, and that runs along Lancaster Avenue. We are innovating and expanding in our rail side. So we have 2 rail lines that we operate. One called TEXRail that was opened about a little more than 4 years ago. Very successful. That's featured here. We also jointly operate the Trinity Railway Express, and that service has been around about 25 years. And that's jointly operated by DART and Trinity Metro. We provide on-demand services, and one of them is called Access, and that's a service that we provide to the community. If you're a customer, a resident that can't use our regular rail or bus system, you are pre-qualified then to have an on-demand service provided to you. A pretty life-saving, critical, essential service. People use this to get to a doctor, medical appointments, educational, taking classes. This photo is at stop 6. It was taken this winter. Ice storm where roads were closed, lots of transportation services were not operating. We had to continue to operate the service. People had to get to those dialysis appointments, as an example. We have another service that's also on demand, like Uber and Lyft. We call it ZIPZone. The idea here is to integrate that kind of service into our transit network. The reason for that is twofold. One is no matter how creative we get and how much funding we may have, we're still going to leave pockets of communities, neighborhoods unserved. What ZIPZone does is it extends the reach of the transit system. It's not a replacement for that bus network, right? There are routes that just carry many, many people and have to run on fixed routes, on fixed schedules. But ZIPZone is shown great promise. Just got the numbers for August, and we carried 19,000 people. That's up from a few thousand a few years ago. So 19,000 people use the service in August. $3, you use it just like Uber. But the difference is Uber, you can go anywhere to anywhere. The way the ZIPZone works is you have to go point to point within a zone. So on the east side, part of the east side is part of what we call the south side ZIPZone. And if you're within that zone, and the eastern boundary is the Texas Wesleyan, And if you're in that boundary, you can, through the app, get a vehicle to come pick you up and drop you off, door-to-door service. It's a great program. We're excited about it and thinking long-term about how we further evolve that into our network so that it's available to more people throughout Fort Worth. And we even have a bike share program, which is quite popular. Last year, we carried 72,000 people, or I should say 72,000 people rented or borrowed a bike. And the concept there is there are bike stations located strategically in Fort Worth, and you can go to a bike station, tap a card, use your mobile app, get a bike, use it, and then you can return it to the same station or a different station within Fort Worth. Very popular. We're looking to relaunch that next year with additional stations. So again, goals here are really around transportation is really to provide options for people. Because one of the things that, and we'll get into this, is that the user base currently, many of them don't own vehicles. So 4 out of 10 don't have a driver's license, 7 out of 10 don't own a vehicle. Now, one might ask, well, is that the group that we're targeting? Well, historically, Trinity Metro was sort of you could call it a safety net for folks who didn't have another means of getting around. But what we're learning and what we know is that cities that have great transit thrive economically, they thrive socially, they are able to, it's a multiplier for the economy. So when we talk about why we invest, yes, it is to serve folks that may not own a vehicle, but it does much more than that. Three quarters of households currently earn less than $30,000. Now, as we think about the evolution of Trinity Metro, I'm gonna argue, or maybe argue is the wrong word. I'm gonna propose that sometimes we hear feedback on the value proposition. Why do we have transit? Couldn't we do it cheaper? Couldn't we do it differently? And what I hope to show you today in this presentation is a little bit about why the return on investment is so powerful and why I think we can help solve challenges that you may be facing as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. And so let's get into that. Trinity Metro's leading recovery right now in terms of the rebound post-COVID. We're getting very close to pre-COVID levels, and we'll probably hit that target at the end of the year. So we're back. There was a lot of question during COVID. Well, the world has changed. People don't commute anymore, right? Lots of comments like that. And what we found is, yes, travel patterns and work locations have changed, but the need for travel has not changed, right? People are traveling. They may be traveling for different reasons, but they're still traveling every bit as much as they did before COVID. Our successes are across the board. We're seeing growth in all business segments. We are fastest growing on the ZIPZone service, albeit a small base. And then, of course, TEXRail is really knocking the lights out. We're seeing great success there in the ridership. 5.8 million people rode the system last year. We will be well over 6.5, approaching 7 million this year. So the growth is very substantial, and we expect that growth to continue. So I've spent a lot of time with many of you in the room. I see Dan and many others here sitting down and having conversations. One of the things I often do is when I go out into the community, I'm not talking about transportation. I'm first listening. I want to understand the challenges that you're facing. One of the challenges I hear a lot about is attraction and retention of talent. That's a key challenge. Social equity, the ability for everybody to participate in their community in various ways. There are a whole myriad of challenges. But we, first and foremost, have got to do a better job, and we do a great job, but we have room to improve on the everyday, what we call the customer experience. So I've three priorities in 2023. I'll just run through these quickly. One is the onboard experience.
New bus seats. So every bus in the fleet, right? We all want a clean, comfortable experience. So we put a lot of work, consulted with customers, got a lot of feedback, and by the end of the year, every seat in our system will get replaced. Now these seem like maybe not very exciting initiatives, but giving somebody a really high quality experience, that's where this journey begins. If you're waiting at a bus stop in the Texas heat, you ought to have a place to get out of the elements. So with the city, with the support of the city, with funding from NCT COG, Mayor Matty, when I sat down with her last year, this is one of the things that she said, we really need to address bus stops. So we're well on our way. 40 bus stops will be refreshed in the next 8 weeks by our 40th anniversary. But ultimately, we have 1,700 bus stops to address throughout the city. So this is a 3-year program, and that will continue. Little details here, which you may not notice. We have a light post there, solar powered. So if you're at night, you push a button, the light comes on. Trash cans, important to neighborhoods, right? We don't want litter. So just, again, not maybe super exciting, but very necessary and important. And then we are in the process of rolling out a Wi-Fi program. We have our first 4 buses equipped with Wi-Fi. We're testing. It's based on a 5G architecture. So high bandwidth, really important to the user experience. We ultimately want that to be on our rail system, on our access vehicles, on our entire fleet. And Wi-Fi is one of those features that people look for, gives them another reason to ride. There are many reasons to ride transit. This is another one that people have come to expect, and we're going to deliver on that. So then we pivot as we think, now I'm hearing, right, what sort of beyond the basics, where are we going with our transit system? I'm going to touch on these projects. They're all in the pipeline right now. They are transformational in their own way, and I think if I would say something, I would say that we have been evolving into a full service, high quality transit provider. One of the things that we need to do better here at Fort Worth is that as Fort Worth has grown and Tarrant County has grown, we have not necessarily kept pace with where we need to be. So these projects in the pipeline are the beginning of a long range strategic plan for public transportation in Tarrant County. And I'll run through these and then we're going to get into sort of the long range. But first up is Trinity Lake Station. That's underway. It's a project to build a new station to anchor a transit-oriented development at 820 and I'm sorry, yeah. Trinity Lakes is a brand new station. It will anchor a new development, which will have thousands of housing units. The goal here is this station currently is in Richland Hills. That station will be decommissioned in January. This new station will open. Progress is well underway. Canopies are in. Trinity Railway Express has been there. What we're trying to do there is upgrade the service at the same time. So a second track will be installed, and the ability to add train service will now be possible. A very popular line, not only for commuting to downtowns, but this service between Fort Worth and Dallas serves intermediate cities. And we see a lot of activity off peak now. And one of the things we're going to be looking at is Sunday service at some point. Right now, the service only runs 6 days a week. One of the projects I'm really excited about is the ability to connect the East Side to the employment opportunities. Alliance, a big employment center, really next to impossible to get up there without a car. So this new service is being designed with coach type buses, the ones you might see in a charter service. We will offer a guaranteed transit model, which is we're going to advertise a trip time. If we don't deliver you there on schedule, you'll get an automatic refund. That's made possible through NCT COG. We're still working out the details of what the mobility hub looks like on the East Side, as well as an Alliance. If you have thoughts on that at the end of the presentation, I'd love to hear them in terms of where this belongs. We had originally thought maybe Dr. Dennis Duncan's transfer center there on Lancaster, but there's no parking there. So we're looking to other sites at this time. But very exciting, the buses will be on property late next year, and then service launches in 2025. A hot topic you probably heard recently, those of you that heard from Michael Morris or Kelly Porter, probably heard something about this project. This is a project that Trinity Metro is supporting. It's being led by the city. The idea here is the busiest transit corridor really has not seen the investment that it deserves. A lot of the economic boom that's happening in other places in Fort Worth maybe has not taken hold here yet. And transit is a way to provide not only better service, but to catalyze that development. And so the city and COG are looking at different ideas. Right now, it does not appear this will be a dedicated lane service. When I say dedicated lanes, there was a term called bus rapid transit. That idea was that you would put buses in dedicated lanes and have improved travel time, avoid congestion. It looks like right now they're leaning towards technology, so upgrading traffic signals. Would love to hear your input on that as well. My understanding, and I'll go back to my original comment, our role is not just to provide transportation, right? It's to help the community accomplish the goals that it has. There's a vision for the future. We want to be part of that vision. And so we don't look at this as a transportation program alone. We want this to fit in with the goals of the neighborhood and the community we serve. Streetcar study is underway. You might have heard something about this. Yes, there is a line that we're considering on the north side, but we are thinking comprehensively about what that network might look like ultimately. And streetcar is a new name for the trolleys. Trolleys used to run in Fort Worth. Sometimes they were called interurban lines, and they run in the street on rails, but they run with modern vehicles. And the great interesting thing about streetcar is where it has been installed in this country, we have seen great returns on that investment. And we're making a trip to Kansas City next month. Kansas City is a superstar in terms of investing in streetcar and getting those results. Tremendous economic development, mixed use, much more walkable, friendly neighborhoods that are safer to walk. When you introduce transit, you calm traffic speeds come down. Generally, it's a quieter environment. You end up with a more lively, and maybe some of you have seen this, but when you're in an auto-centric area, you tend to have higher fatalities. People have to take a car because things just simply aren't walkable or accessible without a car. So streetcar holds enormous promise, and we think that's a near to midterm goal for Trinity Metro. And I'm going to mention not an East Side project, but I need to mention it. TEXRail runs between T&P Terminal right now and DFW Terminal B. That line will be extended 2 miles to the south to the medical district. Why is that important? That line will now provide access to 50,000 jobs in the medical district. And when we look and we think about these investments, we're not thinking about them individually, what they mean exclusively for that corridor. It's part of building the network. So when we invest in something like this, it benefits people throughout Fort Worth and Tarrant County, who now will have additional ways to get between A to B, wherever that may be. Now let's talk big picture. So we've been around 40 years. We've managed to do quite a bit with that half cent. We're proud of the results that we're seeing. We're making real gains in terms of attracting people to transit. But what does that bold future look like? Well, it starts with a strategic plan. For the first time in a long time, we're really stepping back and looking at where's transportation going? Where is Fort Worth going? What are those challenges that we're facing? Some significant challenges ahead of us. 1.4 million residents within the city of Fort Worth alone in the next 20 years. We're seeing increasing congestion and travel time. Well, you'll hear a lot from many people that say, wow, we've some people will say that that highway investment has really allowed us to keep pace and stay ahead of the curve. The reality is this, the minute new capacity opens, that capacity is absorbed. I took a trip the night before last to Alliance in the evening, and kind of shocking to see the congestion that was already there, and we just opened the managed lanes. So one of the things transit can do is help us get ahead of that curve and begin to shift some of the travel patterns. And transit's not about getting everybody on a bus and getting everybody on a train. When we invest in transit, we see better economic returns in the investments that we make in our community. We see greater participation and access to opportunity. There's improved social equity. People that are struggling to get by. Let's keep in mind that auto ownership, it's $11,000 a year. AAA will tell you that it costs $11,000 to own and operate a vehicle. That's the cost to purchase or lease. That's the cost of fuel, insurance. So there's a real reason when you invest in transit, those dollars can be spent on a more productive use. Someone can take those dollars and invest in a degree, a certificate program. So I think there's some really compelling reasons. We continue to see persistent air quality issues. We're lagging very badly. Why does that matter? Well, it matters in two respects. One, obviously the health outcomes, asthma rates, things like that, but it also matters in terms of accessing federal dollars. If we're in a so-called non-attainment zone, and because we're non-attainment, we have lots of strings and limitations on the ability to access federal funds. And I already mentioned social equity and access to opportunity. I can't stress this enough. I ride transit every day, almost 7 days a week. And I encounter all kinds of people that ride public transit. And I would encourage all of you and others to keep an open mind about who rides public transit. I'll give you some examples. I've encountered a group of special needs students in high school riding at one point as a group, and they were getting acquainted to transit, and they were joyful about what that opportunity meant to them. They could go out and be social. They could get a job. They were unable to drive, but they could get around on transit without having someone chauffeuring them around. That's transformational. That is life-changing for somebody with special needs. Another example, our rail system runs to DFW Airport. Well, the roads all were iced over, and ground crews and airport personnel couldn't get to the airport. Well, TEXRail was moving people in and out of the airport throughout that ice storm. Flights were taking off at the airport because we were able to provide transit service. TCC, I'll give you one more. So TCC, Chancellor Eva LeBlanc has told me that she's seeing increasing enrollment and the ability to access a greater student application pool because transit is available to many of their campuses. And that is really critically important. As we look at one of the best ways to get ahead is to get an education. Transit is part of that solution. It's not abstract. This idea isn't like some theoretical policy thing. It's real. The students who participate and go to take classes at the TCC campuses literally would not be able to take those classes but for transit. So the next steps for us are we're going to get smarter than we already are on this. We're going to listen more. We're going to be doing scientific polling and focus groups. We want to see where the users are, but more importantly, see where everyone else is. Where is the average person in Fort Worth and in Tarrant County? What are their attitudes about transit? We want to understand that. What is our starting point? Do they see value in transit? Do they think it's a waste of money? Do they think we should be doubling down? We need to know that. We're going to be doing what we call a value proposition. You could call it an economic impact review. We're going to find out in real numbers what the return on the investment is here in Fort Worth and in Tarrant County. I'll give you another example. The sales tax generates about $120 million, the half penny that we use, $120 million a year. Well, that $120 million leverages another full dollar for dollar from Washington. So I think you know this, but Texas is a donor state. We send more of our money to Washington than money that comes back here to our economy. So right off the bat, we have 100% return on that half penny before we provided any service. On top of that, there's that multiplier, right? We pay local residents to provide the bus services, to maintain the fleet, to maintain our facilities. Those are residents then that spend that dollar again locally. At the same time, we get the benefit of the service. That's just the beginning, and this economic impact analysis will go through those layers of benefits, and it'll be a real number, right? A real number tied to our local economy. I'm going to argue that when the results come out, and I believe this is going to be the case, we're going to see that number is so compelling that people will be demanding that we should be investing more. And I think that's an exciting study, and I can't wait. I'll come back and share those results with you. We had a study called Transit Moves Fort Worth, led by the city at the time, Chad Edwards, our executive vice president of strategy, planning, and development. He was with the city, great document. We're going to be using that as a springboard for the future. That included improvements to East Lancaster as well as the other improvements on the east side. And then at some point, assuming that there's interest, and I think there will be, and assuming that we can make a cogent case, we'll begin to talk about the long-range funding strategy for our transit system. I will tell you that we are the largest city in America, probably the world, that does not have a transit system that is on par with its size and scope. And if we want to continue to attract the talent, continue to attract businesses, and be a thriving place to live, we're going to need to do more with our transit network. So I could keep talking, but I really want to take a few minutes before we, run out of time to hear from you. That's sort of the roadmap for the next few years. I really appreciate your time, and I guess I'll open it up to questions at this point. Sure.
Are you considering extending the spur out to the new Transwestern Logistics Center?
So I'm not familiar. Where's that? Again, I've only been here a year, so help me out.
About a half mile further down in Lancaster, going to be 900,000 square feet of distributed space.
We'll look at that. Could you guide it? Yeah, go ahead.
I asked you to extend the spur out to the new logistics center.
And the answer is yes. We'll look at that. I don't know enough about it, but we'll take a look. Yes.
I'd like to know, will there be any, or is there any financial criteria to drive consider?
Great question. It's open to all people. We do offer a senior and disabled fare, which is half the one-way fare. So currently it's $3 full fare, $1.50 discounted for seniors and disabled. And we're also going to be looking at combining our fares. Right now we have a bus fare, a rail fare, and a zip zone fare, and they're all 50 cents apart. So we're probably going to simplify and combine.
You mentioned the polling and the focus groups. How do our members or members of the community get involved with that? Do they sign up, or how does that work?
Specifically zip zone or
no, the polling, you
the
mentioned.
polling. I got it.
Polling and the focus groups, how would our membership participate?
So focus group is an opportunity. I would have you reach out to Deetra. Deetra can give her information, but the polling is going to be done just like all polling, which will be a random sample. We want a cross section of all residents of Fort Worth and Tarrant County, and so there's no way to add yourself to the polling list. It'll be random. But the focus groups, if you have an interest, let Deetra know, and we'll get you on the list. It doesn't mean we're necessarily going to call on you, but we'd love to have your name if you're interested. And those focus groups will take place at the end of this year and in January. Yes.
So towards the end of your comments, you said you think the information will cause us to want to do more with transit. But you said we're spending up, sorry, 120 million from the half cent. That's being matched. So there's 240 million what do you think that ultimate number is when we're spending enough to match the opportunity?
Great question. I wouldn't hazard to put a specific number, but I think it's a few multiples of that number as far as I'd want to go. Keep in mind, what's interesting is when we look at ourselves in comparison to cities, peer cities, and we can all pick the cities we think are peer cities, but we're looking at Kansas City, Oklahoma City, Denver. There are places, what we see is that they are spending substantially more than we're spending on a per capita basis. So not raw dollars, just on a per capita basis. Dan?
How does the accent with Trinity Metro is compared to other Texas cities?
Most Texas cities get a full cent. So we are at the half cent level. Dallas or Dart, it gets a full penny. They also have other member cities. One of the things we're working on is bringing others like Arlington into the fold. Arlington, up until this point, has elected to go it alone. I think there's value in hanging together and having a network. So we're working on Arlington. If any of you have ideas on how to get Arlington into the fold. Anyone else? Yes.
I think you mentioned that the zip zone ends at Texas Westland. Are there any studies about it? Obviously, you can't do the whole 352 square miles of Fort Worth, but are there plans to study other neighborhoods and maybe expand, maybe further east?
Yeah, thanks, Mike, for that question. I mean, the couple expansions that are happening in the next few months is Forest Hill. I know not Fort Worth, but Forest Hill and Mansfield have just voted to participate in zip zone. So Forest Hill will be tacked on to an existing zip zone. So we'll have a larger zone. You can go into a Forest Hill. And then Mansfield will have their own zip zone. Yes, we were looking at that. The first question we get every time we draw a zip zone boundary is the resident that lives across the street from the boundary says, right? So, we're going to kick around ideas. Even long term, should all of Fort Worth be covered by some kind of zip zone system? We're going to evolve the network here because we have 38 bus routes and 10 of them carry the majority of the people. So can we lean into our winners? Should we have 10-minute service on the big, the high performing transit routes? And should we move away from some of the underperforming routes and go to zip zone?
Does the zip zone use any EVs or hybrids?
Hybrid vehicles, yes, not electric vehicles.
Okay, hybrid.
We have a contract with a company called Via. We are going to be re-advertising that contract next year. So there's an opportunity to change. If you have ideas on what you'd like to see, let me know. But I think it's an opportunity to merge fleets. Right now, we have a bunch of different kinds of vehicles that we own directly. We have contractor vehicles. We have what we're trying to do is rationalize the system and maybe merge services. So as an access customer, if you're going for dialysis or if you're an access customer, you have a 24-hour required call ahead. So if you want to go out to lunch with friends on a short notice, you can't do that. We want to merge and give people the ability to call a half hour ahead of their departure time and say, hey, I'd like a vehicle. And if we combine fleets and combine dispatching and reservations, that starts to allow us to do some of those things. Yes.
So a number of cities are starting to use self-driving vehicles for public transportation. Have there been any discussions on your end?
We've engaged a few times with different companies, Waymo and May Mobility. They're testing in different markets in Texas. Where that might be interesting is places like Alliance, which are so complicated to serve with traditional transit. My view, and I love technology, but my view is that there's a lot of enthusiasm right now, and I do think automation's coming. I don't think it's a suitable replacement for much of what we do. Some of what we do, but not It's not gonna replace transit, is my opinion.
Your eyes seem to light up. We talk about streetcars and what they could do. I think for most of us, our reference point would be Dallas and what we see in downtown Dallas. How would we do it better than what we see in Dallas?
Yeah, so they do have a streetcar. They also have a light rail system. Difference is light rail tends to be longer distances. Streetcar tend to be more neighborhood focused. What I would say is a few things. We have to first and foremost have a vision for the neighborhoods that we want. The quality of life, the type of development, walkability, amenities. Streetcar should be complementary to that. So that, what I would say is, we're going to be doing the legwork on the streetcar proper, but we really need to match that very closely with the development goals. Streetcar can do more than bus can. There's a sense of permanence with streetcar, but there's also improved capacity that you can provide. It's quieter. So anyway, I'm not answering your question directly, but we've got to do some work. One example of, I think, missed opportunity, and I want to stay positive, but missed opportunity is TEXRail Mercantile Station. We built a really beautiful new rail line with a beautiful station, and it's surrounded by warehouses. And warehouses don't generate transit rides. It's not a complementary use. Are there people in the logistics business that use TEXRail? Sure, they're warehouse workers, but that was an opportunity, right, to create a neighborhood with residences and businesses, and that's why we have to work closely with the community and with the city and make sure we're aligning transit investment with local priorities.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thanks.
People love streetcars and they love light rail and they love trains and they don't tend to love buses as much. And yet we need that. How do we get more choice riders, people that do have a lot of driver's license, that do have a car? How do we get them to choose to ride the bus? And you talked about some amenities that are coming, the new seats, so forth. Are there other things that we can do to make the bus ride as attractive as the rail?
So I love that question, Gary. It's a question that we are always talking about. I'll tease, I can't give you all the details right now, but I'll tease what we're going to be doing. I mentioned we have a handful of routes that provide most of the trips in the city. We're going to look at treating them like rail lines, like rubber tired rail lines. We're going to be color coding. I don't want to get into too much of the details, but color coding the routes, creating a metro map like you would see in any great city where you see the rail lines at all the universities and destinations like Botanic Gardens, zoo, stockyards, all the different, creating and then providing the real-time countdown clocks and treating it like a railroad, but doing it with buses. And so I think we can upgrade an onboard experience. You're going to love it when you see it. I wish I could share it. We're not there yet, but you're going to love what you see. It's pretty exciting. It's innovative. It's experiential. It's a lot like what Disney does with waiting in line at Disney, you know, how they make it an experience. Well, riding the bus is going to be like a very positive experience. And we're working on that, probably unveiling that early next year.
Outstanding. Describe something real quick, if I may. There's a picture that used to exist, and I bet it's still around somewhere. It's photographing it from once. It's two different pictures of the same street. And on the left-hand side, there are 4 cars abreast, 8 or 9 cars deep, each with one driver, one person in the car. And on the other side, the 4 lanes are empty except for one bus that all those same passengers are sitting. And it just illustrates how we can solve some of our traffic problems and pollution problems and many other problems if we just learn to think differently about how we get around.
Thank you. I agree, Gary. Thank you.
Rich, thank you so much. Don't go anywhere.
The tradition around here, thank you. The tradition around here is that you help draw some door prizes with Don. Stick around just for a minute.
It's my pleasure.
And let's see.
There's no names on here, only numbers.
That's right. We have raft of wonderful door prizes today. The first two are gift cards from Amanda, are one of our new board members for Cards for Kids. These are $50 gift certificates. And the first one goes to the last three.
890.
All right. Congratulations. That's a And the second $50 Visa card goes to.
881.
All right.
All right. One of our wonderful corporate sponsors is on East Lancaster. The Mexican Inn has been there for decades, is a great supporter of what we do here in East Fort Worth. And I have two $25 gift cards. The first one.
863.
All right. And the second $25 gift card.
887.
All right.
Jeff, that only goes on East Lancaster.
I'm good with that. Shanna Granger, who is chair guru of the Oktoberfest, has donated several door prizes related to the wonderful Oktoberfest. We have two German 6-packs along with 4 3-day passes to the entire Oktoberfest. Okay. Now we have 2 sets of these. So the first prize goes to
884.
all right, Dan. And
Please use public transit.
And I know Dan will.
and the second wonderful door prize.
880.
That's me.
She'll be there.
870.
All right. Thank you. And then, in addition, without the libations, we have a set of 4 3-day passes to Oktoberfest. Shannon outdid herself. Thank you. And that goes to
871.
all right. Monica Harris has brought a wonderful door prize. This is wine and glasses. Monica's with the YMCA. And well, I'll let the winner open it up. It feels very substantial.
885.
All right. compliments of our birthday girl today, Angela Baker, Southside Bank. Thank you. A bottle of wonderful wine. What you? All right, this is a Mondoni Merlot. Good choice.
All right, 872.
That's got to be mine. Okay. That only works once. One of our longtime members, Judy Ditziger. Judy, thank you so much, has brought a door prize, 2 wonderful CDs of John Nitziger, a wonderful guitarist, right? Thank you so much, Judy.
856.
856. All right. John McKenzie, I think. Oh, there you are, John. You just got up a little bit early. A $25 gift card for Whataburger. Now that's all Texas and. Okay.
All right, 878.
All right. Compliments of Wanda. We have our wonderful first class nut mix. There are 2. Okay. You can eat these on the way home.
All right, it's 858.
All right. Bank is playing up today. Congratulations. And
Oh, number 1.
one more.
This is the final prize.
This is it.
All right. Final number 873.
You thought waves came through.
Thank you.
Rich, thank you so much. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rich. All right, that pretty much wraps things up. I just want to remind you that next month we will be voting on our slate of officers that was presented today. We'll also have Betsy Price, our former mayor, is going to be here to introduce our guest speaker, who's the dean of the Texas A&M School of Law, Bobby Adea, right? Adea. So Bobby will be with us and Betsy Price will be here to introduce it. So come on back next month. And don't forget, we have our banquet coming up in November at Texas Wesleyan University. The sponsorship packets are out there now. If you want to buy a table, if you want to buy some tickets, they're available to purchase now. So we'll see y'all next month. Thank you for being here.